Well, hey, I'm Luther Kruger, Big Blue Sun Museum of Solar Cooking, based in Minneapolis. I'm here with Sarah Mitchell, beautiful Spanish Fork, Utah. A little bit not quite the ideal solar cooking day, but you know what? It reminds me of Minnesota. We call it the variety weather belt. You never know how it's going to turn out. And Sarah's going to talk about what she does with solar cooking, why she got into it, a little bit about dehydrating, and just general thoughts on solar cooking. So why did you start solar cooking? How did you discover it?
Well, I first discovered it because of preparedness and trying to go like reusable and fuel free, and thinking about like if there was an emergency, what would we do? And that was when I first kind of found the concept, but I didn't really do anything, and it was just in the back of my mind of, oh, that would be a cool thing, and you know, it was a someday project, you know, along with the rocket stove, which we did end eventually building, and you know, ways to cook off grid and stuff. But the way that we finally like jumped into it was we got this house, and there is a swamp cooler but no air conditioner. And the swamp cooler does fine for the upstairs, does fine for the bedrooms. It does not do fine for the kitchen. And so we just tried not cooking, which gets expensive. And you kind of get really sick of sandwiches and restaurant food. And so I remembered, I was like, wait a minute, there's cool solar cookers. Maybe I could get one of those instead of, you know, a $5,000 air conditioner, because the swamp cooler was fine for everything except the kitchen.
Sure.
And so I spent so much time researching, because you go online and there's ones that are good for like, oh, I take it in my travel trailer, and I take it camping, and I take it, there's different levels, right? And this is good for boiling water, and this is good for this, and this one you have to use an oven bag. And I do not want an oven bag. That was like one of my main things. I do not want an oven bag. And so after tons and tons of researching, I found my Solavore, which has a new name now. Remind me what it is.
So it was always the sport, but it was a Solar Oven Society, and then for 2 years, Ann Patterson ran it as Solavore. Their commitment was 2 years, and so reverted back to Mike and Martha Port, who are hoping to revive it.
It's a fabulous oven.
Oh yeah, I mean, everyone I know that has one wants another one, or wants to give it away and get another one. So,
yeah, I love it. So we bought this, and then the next time I wasn't able to get it until like November because of supply issues, but I got it, and then the next summer we pulled it out and we just started playing around with it. Now before I bought this, I tried a homemade one, which was fine, and one of these days I'm gonna make it better and I will show you, but once I got this, that homemade one just got put away, and I didn't use it anymore because this is so easy. It's really light and I can pick it up, not right now because I'm pregnant and I don't lift things, but on a normal year I can just put it in my house, because we tried leaving it on the porch and that didn't work well because it got dirty. Spanish Fork is dusty.
It is a dusty place.
I don't know. I was like, I wonder if other places are dusty. So this is nice because I can't leave it outside, and so I have to bring it inside, and so it's super light, and I found a place for it up above my stairs, and I can just put it away, and the panels stay on, so I can just lift it, which is nice. The hardest thing about it though is that it doesn't fit a cookie sheet. And so it's really good for pot cooking. If you can use it like a slow cooker. I've made muffins in it. I would make chili in it. I've made hot dogs in it, because gotta have hot dogs.
That's right.
In the summer. The hot dogs actually cook up really nice,
yes.
and they get like kind of even brown a little bit, so that's nice. And the muffin's brown too, and that was something I couldn't accomplish in my homemade one, and that's why for me this was worth the money, because it's close enough to a regular oven, and it doesn't take forever either. So it takes longer than an oven, because it'll stay, I can preheat it to 300 in 10-ish minutes. We get a lot of sunshine here, not today, but in the summer. And then I can put it in and it'll hold constant at 220. And so I've made pavlova, because that's actually the instructions for pavlova is you heat the oven to 300 and then you let it sit for 220 and then you turn it off. And so to turn it off, I just turn it around and it makes fabulous pavlova.
Sure.
So that is, I was super proud of that. But I came up with this because I wanted to do, this is my dehydrator.
Yeah.
Move it.
Sure.
I came up with this because I wanted to dry food. I had a lot of tomatoes, we had a lot of cherries, peaches, nectarines, and I tried it in that and it was fine, but it was a little bit cumbersome because I can't fit a cookie tray in there, and so I was trying to figure out, and it just couldn't fit a lot. It was faster, but it wasn't great. And I've seen people like just put out trays. I've seen people build complicated systems with like some sort of draft thing, and I was like, that's not going to happen. And so I was just playing around one day, and I just came up with this, and because this was, at first, this was just to keep the birds away, and then I realized, oh, it's a little greenhouse, and so it works out perfect. So cherry tomatoes, and I've done cherry tomatoes and cherries, and thin sliced nectarines, and they usually take about 2 days with full sun. And I just stick it out. The nice thing is you don't have to rotate it or anything. You just stick it on the ground where it's going to get sun. And the only way I have to track it is if I have something that's going to shadow it, right? And so the other nice thing about this happened this summer. I did a load of cherry tomatoes. The first day was great, and then the second day was cloudy. I just stuck it in the oven. And so that's really nice, is that it's like a dual purpose cooker.
Yes. Well, and this is what caught my eye on the Solar Cookers World Network on Facebook, because this is the kind of idea that needs to be shared a lot more, I think. Manufactured cookers, wonderful. I mean, professionals put them together, they test the angles, they test the materials and so forth. But for someone to just be able to say, maybe I'm not ready for that, but I got an idea, and use it, and it works. And you'll probably everything on the step there, everyone has.
Yeah, if you don't have it, you can usually get it from a thrift store. I even priced it out on Amazon, and it was like $30 if you want to buy all of it new. And so it's just a cookie sheet, a raised lip cookie sheet, and then I do have a baking rack, a cooling rack underneath. Yep. And so you slice up your food, stick it on there, and that's to allow for airflow. Yep. And then I have a Pyrex pan, and it doesn't cover the whole thing, which again allows for airflow. And I could have fit more on here. If I really work, I can squish in a lot, but it's just the end of the season tomatoes. And I liked it so much that my mom got me some more of these cooling racks, and I dug up some extra pans, and when it's cherry season, I'm just gonna have them lined up. Sure. And because I've got a fair amount of Pyrexes of different sizes, and so it's just so easy, and it's cheap, and it's free, and I love dried cherries. They're just really good, and the dried tomatoes turned out pretty good too. These are the ones that I did. Yeah, I did half in the sun and half in the oven, just because of the way the weather went, and they turned out really good. They're just dried cherry tomatoes, and I put a little bit of salt and a little bit of Italian seasoning.
Sure.
They're good. It tastes like cherry tomatoes.
When it's an extension of preparedness, both to cook when you have to cook, but then also dry so you can save for later. So that's part in the back of your mind, stuff you're doing?
I know that for a lot of people it is. For me, I try and only dry things that I know I'm going to eat. And so I really like tomatoes, and I really like cherries, and so I just dry these things as snack foods, and then the preparedness is kind of separate. So it's more of a preparedness thing where, like, if our electricity goes out, which it does every year the electricity goes out, and so when I'm lazy, we go eat at restaurants. But if that's not an option, then we can do this. I can heat up a can of chili, or I can, what else do I do? I can make muffins,
Sure.
and so the regular solar oven is my mainstay for that. This is my, I grew 1 million tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, And I like cherry tomatoes, so what are we going to do with them? Let's do this.
Yes. And then you've got dried tomatoes for
the
just
winter.
munching on, or winter, or for other dishes.
Yeah, I can put them on. I can rehydrate, soften them a little bit, and put them on like grilled cheese mozzarella with pesto and stuff. So these are more of like a treat for occasional special dishes, whereas the cherries I'll just eat.
Sure. That's nice. That's really what I came here for, because I already got one of those.
I know. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's useful. But I was really pleased with how this turns out. It's so useful. And like I said, it takes 2 days, but I haven't had any problem with it needing to sit overnight. And we do live in a very dry area, so it's going to mold, and it's I usually do this during the summer where it's really hot anyways.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll bring it in the house, but sometimes I'll just leave it out there and it'll just warm back up, and 2 days is usually plenty for the small things.
Sure. Wow. Well, any thoughts on, are you like promoting it to neighbors, or do people look over their fence here and say, what the heck is Sarah doing?
Our neighbors know that I'm weird. I don't even think that they wonder anymore.
They don't understand that weirdness is relative, and B, it could be, you're weird and you look at something that should be normal.
Exactly. Exactly. I think for this, I keep telling my mom, so the hard thing is that people who really like to dehydrate, they just get dehydrators. And so this works really well for me because I don't want to do a giant batch in a giant dehydrator and have it run and then I have to check it.
Yes.
So you're less likely to overcook it with this, which is really nice. Although people will be like, oh, you won't burn things in a solar oven. That is not true. It can be done. But I don't usually overcook in this.
Yep.
And so that's nice. So it takes kind of less brain power for me than an actual dehydrator. And so the serious dehydrators, they already have what they like to do. But this is nice for me because I can just be like, I have some extra cherry tomatoes. So I do try and tell when people, like on Facebook, they're like, what do I do with extra cherry tomatoes? I'm like, dehydrate them. And here is a very easy way to do it. I haven't seen anybody take me up on it yet, but I like it. It's super useful for me. So that's good enough. I did lend our neighbor across the street, I lent her the solar oven, and she played with it for a couple of days, and I think it was more of a novelty because they have air conditioning.
Yes.
So it wasn't like a staple for them. But you know what? My kids love to cook with this thing. And especially in the summer, they'll be like, can we make muffins in the solar oven? And they will help me, and they'll bring them out, and they love to check on it and stuff. And so even if we're the only ones that do it, eventually it can grow.
Yeah. I feel like we got to have it at all levels. Start with that, make sure kids know it. Mm-hmm. Actually, I had the simplicity out at a rest stop, and a mom's walking her kid to the restrooms or whatever, and the kid says, "Mom, there's a solar oven." And she says, "I don't think so." I'm thinking, wait a second, this kid's way ahead of you, man.
That's funny.
Any questions for me, or anything else you'd like to say?
No, I would like to say that I see sometimes in the preparedness circles, they're like, oh yeah, I have a sun oven for emergencies, and they've never used it. And I just, as I've realized that you can't do that. No. There's a learning curve. Like, they're easy, but there's so many things, like, where are you going to put it? Yep. Where are you going to store it? Which pans fit in it? Which recipes do you like in it? How long does the recipe take? When do you need to start it? I tried brownies once, but I started it too late because I was like, it's plenty hot, it's plenty sunny, yep. But I realized at our particular location, I have to be done cooking by like 3 or 4 because I don't get the sun that we need. And so I just am like, it's, especially during the summer, like, it's a fun thing to just kind of integrate into your life and just pick easy things, and then you have it if you need it, but you also have it just for fun to help. Anybody who lives in a hot area, even if you have air conditioning, yes. Like that, it's nice to be able to keep your house cool. So I like it. And these emergencies, they happen more often than you think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think hopefully everyone's seen with COVID, like things happen. Yes. But I've always kept a case of water under my bed ever since I was in college, because without fail, every year the water would be shut off. And just when you plan for it, it's not an emergency anymore.
No, and it's the ultimate. I mean, that thing is light. and it's mostly green because, as it were, because of the recycled pop bottles that go into the case. And one of the people I interviewed said, "Would you like another?" Well, I can't turn it down. You know, gave it to my nephews in Albuquerque, where they can cook year round, of course. So
That's nice of you to give them away.
well, actually, that one I told them it's on permanent loan because we got the two and I only have so much space. I mean, until an actual museum gets built, you know, I got all right, half of them in my garage, you know.
They do take up a lot of room.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. This is fun.
Yeah.
And really, the dehydrator idea, that, I mean, what more, how much simpler can you get? I mean, you've got the airflow is happening, you've got the greenhouse. I mean, probably you could, if you had like one of those pans with the black surface or something, maybe it would generate a little more heat, but you already got it under control.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so forth. But when you can start with this, and it keeps you, I mean, it keeps you in dried cherry tomatoes,
Yeah.
right? And what more do you need?
And it's so easy and it's so cheap, and it's a good way to get your feet wet into, like, do I like dehydrating? Do I like dehydrated
Yes.
food? And turns out I do.
Yeah. Thank you both so much. This is great.
Thank you for coming.